Hi and welcome to Sexton Soccer Stories. I'm absolutely delighted to be bringing episode 2. This is a podcast just about former footballers and our beautiful game, bringing you some stories, their journeys, and we'll have a wee bit of a laugh as well. So check me out on my socials, like and subscribe on YouTube. I'm on TikTok, Facebook and Instagram. So let's get underway and I'll welcome you to our first guest. My first guest today is a former St Mirren and Kilmarnock legend, Martin Baker. Martin, you're shaking your head there. Welcome to Sexton Soccer Stories.
Thanks for having
me. How was your journey in today?
Fine. Return ticket to the train. First time in Glasgow for a while, so looking forward to this.
Excellent. Thanks very much for coming on. I'm really excited to hear about your journey in professional capacity. So just go right back to delve back into your history when you obviously started playing in the 1940s. and your suit jacket's no changed since that time either. So where did you start playing football?
Started playing local team Clarkson Amateurs when I was 8-year-old. Stayed there for a couple of years and eventually when I was 11, my dad is a Rangers fan. Decided one weekend he said to me, we're going to go to Barrowfield on Sunday morning, Celtic's old training ground, and trials for Celtic Boys Club. So went there one Sunday morning about 9 o'clock. There was about over 200 kids there, and over the course of the day, through trials, formed a part of a 16 team under 12s for Celtic Boys Club, and thereafter stayed there for 5 years.
All right. So see, when you went to Celtic at that time, just to put people in the picture, you went there on a Sunday morning. It had been bedlam, been chaos. You're playing numerous football games at that time. How would it be selected then that you moved on to the next kind of part of the team? So when they reduced, would they just come over and just put you to one side and say, this boy's here?
That's it, just read your name out, and if your name got called, you went across to the other side, and more games, and same again until they whittled it down to 16 players.
Okay, so how did they then approach you then to sign for Celtic Boys Club at that time?
Well, that was it. Once the trials were finished, obviously the ones that were left were there to form a team, and after that the formal registrations. You come back at a later date and sign the forms and attach yourself to the boys club for that year. But every single year you had to be kept on.
Okay.
So I managed to do that for 5 years.
So where would that have been then? Would you have signed at Barrowfield or would you have signed at Celtic Park, or where did you sign?
I signed at Barrowfield.
Okay.
It's the social club next door to it as well. So.
Right. And who signed you at that time? Can you remember?
It was a wee guy called Jimmy Gilmer.
Okay.
Jimmy Gilmer was the charged under 12s at that time.
Okay, so obviously you were in a kind of privileged position at that time to play for Celtic, and Rangers were big boys club names at that time. When you went through your journey from 12s to under 16s, did you travel about the country or did you manage to get abroad at tournaments, etc.?
Mostly all the kind of tournaments were home based until you got to kind of under 16s, where you go to America for 2.5 weeks, you go to Boston and Philadelphia with the Celtic Support Club over there, and you take part in a couple of tournaments.
Okay.
So that was interesting.
And what kind of teams would you be playing against back then?
Oh, just American teams, Brian. I can't really. Let's just say 1940s I played, and that means I can't really remember.
It's amazing. So obviously you're playing with Celtic. You're getting to a level where you're thinking you're maybe going to be signing for Celtic. You got to about 15, 16. What happened then?
Well, what happens is there's probably an opportunity. I could have signed an S form, which is a schoolboy form, Brian, you know it yourself.
Yep.
A schoolboy form is an S form. You attach yourself to a senior team, and I was lucky enough that St Mirren gave me a couple of games, and I signed an S form for St Mirren, which means if you're at school and when you leave school, that club that signed you's got the opportunity to sign you full time first and foremost, and that's what happened. So I managed to leave school and get a full time contract just after I was 16.
So did you sign there obviously with the intention that it's been sold to you, you've got a better chance of getting first team football?
Absolutely. I knew that you've seen it in the past, many players signing for Celtic, they disappear. They just disappear, don't get the opportunity. I knew I was going to get an opportunity. I believed in myself, my ability, and lucky enough, Davy Hay was the manager at the time. Well, Tony Fitzpatrick signed me. Davy Hay was the manager at the time. It gave me my first team debut in the Premier League when I was 17.
Okay, so again, when you're signing there, is it the old Love Street that you signed?
Love Street, yep.
Aye, so
Great
many
days.
happy memories back then. So when I got to about 15, you were about 16 at that time. We were at a tournament. We kind of pre-discussed. I think it was an air tournament, but I can't remember. And that's when I started kind of following your career path, because I played in the left, you played in the left, and I thought this guy's exceptional. And I think you just signed for St Mirren at that time, and at that time I signed for Morton, but you were a year above, and obviously keep in touch with your career. So I looked at your selling your aspirations of St Mirren at that time. You were a very young team, for what I remember. when you made your debut, who was in that St Mirren team at that time?
Oh, Christ. Got it. Jamie Fullerton, Ricky Gillis, Kenny Gillis, Barry Lavetti, Barry McLaughlin, Stuart Taylor, Alan Combe. There was a young team.
Yep.
I mean, that was Jimmy Bowen's team at the time. I mean, Jimmy, I think Jimmy was trying to buy himself a job for about 7 years because Jimmy had a 7-year plan. You know what I mean, to try and bring these young kids on, but that young group of players should have done a lot better than they did. There's a couple of occasions we could have got promoted, but really should have done a bit better.
Yep. So we was in the first division at that time. So when Davy Hay gave you his debut, how long did Davy stay? Was Jimmy in the background at that time? Or
No, that was Davy's final season.
Okay.
He left, and Jimmy took over the following season with Gordon Smith.
What was Davy Hay
Big
like
boy.
as a man?
Oh, Davy, jeez. Listen, you wouldn't cross Davy. Wouldn't cross Davy. He's a kind of aura about him, know what I mean? And he was just a hard taskmaster.
But an exceptional football player.
Exactly, absolutely.
Do you think you learnt quite a lot from him at that time, or do you think you're maybe just too soon?
Just too young. Know what I mean, it was my first year. Know what I mean, and I remember making that debut and getting called into his wee room after the game, or maybe the Monday, and he gave me a white envelope with £500 in it.
For making your debut?
He says, there you go, you keep that, I'm going to put that through your wages. I went, oh, £500, that was fantastic, 17-year-old.
Aye.
I was on the ground staff at the time, know what I mean, for the first year, and at the end of the day, at 4 or 5 o'clock, you're going up the road to get the train. We've got 2 trains.
Yep.
Davey was go back up the road. I was a Giffnock boy, he stayed in Giffnock, and he gave me a lift in his car back up the road. But that journey up the road, it's Davey Hay.
It's Davey Hay,
and he's kind of quite
exceptional.
serious man. I mean, just try to talk to him, you're just nervous.
And so when you made your debut, Davey gave you your debut. Who was it against?
Dunfermline.
Right, okay. Home or away? Was
home,
it? Aye.
Home 1-3-1. I was left back. Big Roy Aiken was left centre back. He scored an own goal that day.
Okay.
But managed to win 3-1.
Aye, that's fantastic, isn't it? And that's lived with you the rest of your life.
Aye,
what did you do with your £500 win, Boris?
Bought this jacket.
Aye, I can imagine. You've done well out of that. There's no way that was £500. So obviously that was his last season. Did you already know that Jimmy was coming in to take place?
I already knew Jimmy was coming in. Gordon Smith was coming in as assistant. Big Andy Ritchie came on board as well. You know, big Bozza. You like to say that? My Bozza.
Yep.
Aye, Andy Ritchie. So he was there as well. Another great footballing man. Great player, honestly. Took part in training games. Andy Ritchie. Great ability.
Aye, phenomenal. And he'd have been at the end of his career at that time as well.
He was finishing. He was finished.
So when you obviously went off the off season, you called back in for pre-season, and Jimmy's there. What was the difference between him and Davies' kind of regime? Can you remember?
Well, Jimmy's a hard taskmaster as well, by the way. I mean, Jimmy was really wanted the boys to work really, really hard. That's what you do in football. You got to work. There's 2 things you want in football: is work hard for yourself and work hard for the team. See if you don't have that, you're struggling. You work hard first and foremost, and that's what Jimmy implemented, and especially the young boys especially. They kept them on behind for afternoon sessions twice a week to show them how the game should be played in relation with the ball is in the park, your positions and all that. And that's and I think Jimmy was one of the best footballing coaches I've probably ever worked with. I mean,
probably underrated as well. But I think if you were in that era, you would understand who the good managers were. And I think obviously, as you just said there, he's obviously an absolute gem of a manager to be with, as you've said.
He's we'd be fallout now and again and all that. And Jimmy had this kind of thing where it's all kind of, I don't know, grab you by the shirt, the collar and all that, and the things are not going well. But I think he done that to me, and it had adverse effect. I mean, some players need a wee pat in the back, a wee cuddle. You just kind of shout and ball at them all the time. I mean, I think Jimmy realised that with me, and then he started to realise that with everyone, that you can't do that with everyone. Some players need a kick up the backside. Some players need a wee cuddle, a wee pat in the back, even though you want to shout and ball at them. And I think he realised that as he got on in his career at St Mirren, and he started to change his ways with different players, and he probably saw that he got better out of players by doing that.
I'll take you back to that instant. So I remember when you used to tell me, because we've chewed the fat numerous times, so I think something that happened on the park, did you try and handball?
His League Cup game at Love Street, and I think he had somebody up watching me. I think Mick McCarthy was in manager at Millwall, was up watching me at the time, and I think the balls came in 10 minutes into the box, and I went up to try and head it, and I've put my old hand up at the same time as I was going to handball it, and I never touched my hand, but the intention was there, and Jimmy saw that and just took me off after 10 minutes. So I'm getting changed in the changing room.
10 minutes into a game?
10 minutes in the game.
All right.
It just took me off.
As a 17-year-old?
Aye.
Right,
so I just in the changing room, and Jimmy's banned for the dugout. He's up in the stand. I mean, so I'm in I'm in getting changed, my shirt and tie on, and hear him obviously half time. Jimmy's ran down the stairs as quick as he possibly can to get in the changing room before the players came in, and he's just went for me, he's grabbed me by the scruff of the neck, ripped my tie off, and basically saying, "Don't you ever dare do that again." I mean, and the next minute the boys are coming in, my shirt's holding here, my tie's on the side of the neck and all that, and the boys are, "What's going on here?" And that's when that stopped for me. That was a time where that's not going to happen again.
Yep.
And we had a wee board meeting with Jackie Copeland as the chief executive at the time, and our general manager at the time, and Jimmy and everybody else, and just sat down and spoke about it. And I think from that moment on, Jimmy was like a second dad to me.
Okay, so how did you approach that then? Obviously I know what it's like when you get angry and upset. Did you go home and were you telling your parents or anything like that, or did you just confide in your teammates?
I spoke to my dad, and my dad was at the game as well, and I think my dad went down to the director's box and had a word with one of the directors. Says, "What's going on here?
What's happening here?" Yeah.
And basically, when Jimmy came into the change room, he says, "Don't you ever say to your dad, don't ever come down and confront me in the director's box ever again." I mean, and I'm like, well, basically,
your dad's looking out for you then at that point.
So I took my OP teacher, Alan McVake.
Okay.
He was in the books at Rangers. He played junior. Well, he played for United and played junior with Pollock and all that as well. So I took him as an advisor at the time. I mean, because I played with Scotland schoolboys and all that. And I took him in and had a chat in front of the people I mentioned. And from that day on, different person, like a second dad to me.
How close was that to the instant then? Was it maybe a couple of days later?
Yeah, it was just basically within the next couple of weeks. Down, thrashed it out in the boardroom. Finished. And then different person after that.
Back to training, just like as if nothing's happened.
As I said, one of the best coaches I've had in terms of knowing the game, try to implement the game to the boys, teach them, show them where to go in the park and position sense, where the ball is, everything. As I said, that to me.
Yeah. So you're probably seeing it now as an older person like myself. He's probably trying to make sure he's getting the best out of you, and his way was maybe not the way that got the best out of you at that time.
Exactly. But I'm a bit like him myself. So I take my boys team under 12s and shooting the ball into the boys as well.
Yep. Aye. And you
just can't help it, because
you can't help it. No, it's been ingrained in you.
I know.
So you've come back after that game. How long did you wait? Can you remember to play again, or were you in the next game?
Back in playing again.
That's unbelievable, isn't it?
So,
and
I wasn't the type of player at the time that you could have left out. I mean, because I'm probably a bit of an asset at the time. I mean, I'm doing that left hand side. I mean, but.
So you were saying you were in the kind of Scotland schoolboys setup, and did you play? Was it under 18s then, or was it just straight to under 21s at that point? I can't remember.
I played a couple of schoolboy caps and was at Wood Farm High School. Then played against Switzerland at schoolboy level, and I got noticed, and I got jumped up to a couple of months later to Scotland under 18s.
Okay.
No, Scotland under 18s at the time were all full time professionals. I wasn't. I was still at school. I was playing. It wasn't until. The following year, I was 18 and I started playing with Scotland under 21s.
Okay, so when did you become then a full-time professional then?
I was 17.
17, and did you sign a 2-year deal or a...
I was on the ground staff for just for a season, and I still made my debut in that first season. So,
and you didn't have agents then, so you wouldn't have got a 3 or a 5-year deal or anything like that?
No, it's one of the ones that was all Jim McLean days, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Got all the young boys in the director's room at the one time and basically says, "Listen guys, there's a contract for you, you're all going to sign it."
And you did, and you didn't. There was no... Aye, so you obviously you played a few times at St Mirren at this point, and then you're involved in the Scotland under 21 setup. See some of the boys that you were playing against, it's when you were at Celtic or against Rangers and all that. Was there many boys in that setup at that time?
There's quite a few. I mean, there's boys that were playing Stephen Presley, Davy Hanna, Gary Boland, Stuart Kerr, Lee Robertson, Brian McLaughlin, Christian Daly.
Yep.
Christian Daly, great player, Christian. Really, really nice guy. Quite a few of them. Kevin Thomas. It's
fantastic. That's what I'm saying. And they've all had great careers in the game as well. So you played 12 times for Scotland under 21s. You obviously went out and abroad and played in a tournament. I don't know if you can remember that tournament you played in. I
went to Toulon, south of France. Went there 2 years in a row. Played against, got to the semi-final of that tournament against England, and I remember Craig Brown was the manager at the time with Tommy Craig, and I remember sharing a room with my teammate Jamie Fulton at the time, and Tommy and Craig Brown came round the rooms to just inform us the team. So I'm in the room with Jamie, and he comes in and he says, "Jamie, you're playing centre midfield, blah blah blah." He says, "Bakesy," he says, "you're not playing fullback, you're going to do a man marking job when Lee Clark in Newcastle." And I'm like, "Lee Clark in Newcastle? Centre midfield? I've never played centre midfield before in my life." He said, "I know that, just go, I want you to go man mark him. Just man mark him. Where he goes, you go. Stop him from playing, right?" So game kicked off, 20 minutes, doing all right, nicking the ball, get a few tackles in. Next minute he goes down injured and he gets taken off. So I'm thinking, what am I going to do now? So he puts him back to left back. And this time I'm playing against Darren Anderton at Tottenham. Oh man, what's going on here?
Aye.
I mean, there's full of talent in that England team. Jamie Redknapp, Chris Sutton playing up front. I remember the ball getting played over the top one time in that semi-final, second half. And I'm running back into full-back here and Chris Sutton's coming across. A big boy, Chris Sutton. I mean, I'm a wee skinny boy at St Mirren at the time. And I get to the ball first, but he just leans his shoulder in and I fall flat in my face. And he turns around and he says to me, "Stay in your feet, you little." And I went, "Okay then." I mean, so I always remember that now.
So what age were they at that time then? Were they 20 probably?
Aye, 21.
And you were what age were you?
18,
aye. So you're still learning the game.
Exactly.
You're playing against all these, and England had the best talent at that time anyway. And as you said, Lee Clark, what a career, and Anderton, phenomenal career. And
Jamie Redknapp.
But did you feel though that you held your own though with Anderton and stuff?
I mean, we beat 1-0. I mean, so it's you're playing with good players, they help you out.
Absolutely. And you said a good team at that time.
Good team,
and really strong. And who would have been centre half then? Was it Stephen Presley at that time?
I think it was Stephen Presley and Scott Marshall.
So if Big Sutton's no scored
Nope.
that many goals in that game. But
Nicky Sonnby scored a goal.
But you think that's over 30 odd year ago, and you still remember what they say to you. And,
I know, exactly.
And it's ingrained in your memory, isn't it? It's ingrained in your brain, and they get back. So you obviously, you've made your debut, you've played numerous times for Scotland under 21s. You must be starting to draw a wee bit of attention for other clubs at this point. So was there ever a point when you thought to yourself, I'm actually playing really well here? And somebody said to you, there's going to be scouts coming to watch you at that point, or did you just keep playing your normal game?
Well, I think Jimmy at the time didn't highlight to you that somebody was watching you.
Okay.
He just didn't want to make you nervous. He just let you go out there and play. And if it happened, it happened. Brian, you need to have a lot of luck in the game
Absolutely.
as well. I mean, you can play you can have the 7 best games of your life, right? And then to the 8th game, if somebody comes to see you, you have a stinker.
Yep. And
that's what's ingrained in the scout's head or somebody that's watching you, is that last game. And they might say, I'll come back again and watch them again, maybe that's a one-off. And you might have 2 or 3 good games again. By that time they come back, you have another bad game. And so it's luck at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
But there was a couple of teams interested, go down south and all that. And they wanted me to go down, Sheffield United wanted me to go down for a week's training. And I thought, why should I go down for a week's training when I'm playing every single week?
Absolutely, yep. And enjoying yourself.
I know. So why can't they just take a chance?
Yep.
What do I need to prove? I'm playing on a Saturday. Surely what I do on a Saturday is enough.
Yep, and by this time in your career at St Mirren, you've got over 170 appearances for St Mirren. It's not as if you're not playing, you're not getting a regular game. So as you said, if you want to buy me, just buy me. There was no plus. You're living in Glasgow, you're no far to get to training, you're no far to get to your club. So would you have been still staying at your parents at that time, or?
I was still at parents. So it wasn't until I signed with Kilmarnock I moved out.
So when you're in there at St Mirren and you get the nod that Kilmarnock are want to buy you, how did that come about? Can you remember?
Just remember going up to the old McDonald's Hotel in the Eastwood Toll in Giffnock. I met Bobby there and an assistant manager.
Who's that? Bobby
Williamson,
right.
And Jimmy Clark. Basically looking for a fullback at the time, you know what I mean? So it was a summer. It was just basically 3 weeks after they won the Scottish Cup in '97, and basically signed there and then.
Okay. So did they phone St Mirren to let you know that?
I had an agent at the time.
You had an agent. So who was your agent? Can you remember?
Big Raymond Sparks.
Okay. So they went through the so was that when agents were starting to come into the game?
They were thereabouts.
So when was the Bosman then round about that time then?
Just before that. It was just about. Well, it must have been about 93 maybe, the Bosman.
Right, and one of your good friends, was he no?
Well, Jamie Fulton, he was brought through the St Mirren kind of youth ranks as well, and this is where it kind of hurt St Mirren because they never get any money for Jamie.
No.
Because Jamie was one of the first players to go in the Bosman. So he went from, like say, St Mirren to Corsica, a wee team called Bastia, playing in the French League. So he went out there for a year, and it was just when I just signed with Kilmarnock that summer, I went to Corsica for my holidays for a fortnight. So I went from like wee Glasgow boy, went to Glasgow to Heathrow to Paris Orly to Corsica. And I went to go and see Jamie for a fortnight. He picked me up in his club car, went to see his apartment, fancy apartment, fantastic island, and spent a couple of weeks there on holiday.
That's fantastic, isn't it?
Jamie's a fitness fanatic, so we kind of no take the car down to the beach. The beach was a couple of miles away, so we wanted to run down to the beach. Stayed at the beach for a while, blah blah blah. And they've got this volleyball kind of on the stand, like volleyball net, and there's a couple of boys playing football there. And Jamie says that's a couple of boys that play with Bastia youth team. And they came over and he started talking fluent French to the boys and all that. And he says to me, the boys want to play a game of 2-touch head tennis over the volleyball net. So I'm fine, no problem at all. A couple of young kids, no problem. Could beat 21-7.
Who was the 2 young kids?
2 young kids for Bastia youth team.
That's unbelievable.
So just sat down after it, and just there's a bit of kind of the beach bar there and all, and over on the right hand side was Jamie's like, who's that there? And I'm like, just Christian Carambou for Real Madrid.
Yep.
He's come over his holidays, right? And I said, who's he talking to? He's talking to a couple of directors for Bastia. I said, all right. And I said, who's the guy there with the leg brace? I said, that's Frank van der Kasteel. So he played with Bastia as well. He's injured at the moment. I said, all right. So walked over, and I'm standing there, and Jamie's getting introduced to Christian Carambou, talking fluent French and all that, and I'm standing there going, what's going on here? And then 5 minutes later, we started jogging back up the road. So we're jogging back up the road. Next minute, there's a Jeep coming down the main road. He goes, beep, 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 beep. Jamie's like that. I said, who's that? I said, you'll not know him. So that's Lubomir Moravcik. So he plays with Bastia as well with me. I said, all right. No. So lo and behold, about a year later, Jamie phones me, and he's killing himself laughing. He says, see that time of holiday last year, the Jeep, the guy waving, Lubomir Moravcik? He's about to sign for Celtic. You're not going to believe this. You can score with his left foot, you can score with his right foot. He's going to turn you inside out like a revolving door. And lo and behold, he signs for Celtic for about £450,000.
And how do you think he got to Celtic at that point then? Was it?
I don't know. I think
how they were scouting there.
Was it no Vengelos was the manager at the time? Vengelos, was he no kind of?
Yep, Dr. Joe.
Was no kind of Czech as well, maybe?
I don't know.
I'm not sure. There was a connection there with him and Moravcik. I don't know where it was though. And so he signs, and 2 seasons in a row I get sent off at Parkhead against Moravcik, the same player on the same area of the park. Unbelievable. We'll
come back to that, obviously, that part of your career, but that's an amazing story. It's just brilliant. This is what I mean, the journeys of people's careers and how it progresses. But I take it there was no interest for you to go down to that part of the country in France, no?
Oh, a stunning island, honestly. Really nice.
It's amazing.
Great.
So obviously Jamie's went in the Bosman. You've got the call for your agent to go and sign for Kilmarnock. It's been done in the what hotel was it again? Sorry,
McDonald Hotel.
So it's been done in the McDonald Hotel. What was the fee? I'm sure it was about 175,000.
I think so. Jeez,
and they get somebody else though.
We Tam Brown went the other way as well.
Amazing. So you get a nice signing on fee then, I take it. At that time, amazing, brilliant. So you've went in, you've signed straight into pre-season training. I'm assuming. Where did they train then? Did they train locally?
Locally, just did it at the cricket ground, and the pre-season was at Eglinton Park and all that, and up at Châtellerault as well, up at Hamilton, went to Châtellerault as well, and first year we went to France, and remember Big Colin Meldrum, Big Colin Meldrum, the goalkeeper? Big Colin, we were on the bus in pre-season in France after a session, back in the bus, and he's sitting kind of directly behind me at the right hand side, and he goes, the big Melly's got a big chin and all that, and he says, Batesy, I can't believe I'm going to be playing with you. And I'm a new boy, right? A lot of experienced players there. And I turn around and I says, I don't think so, mate. I'll be playing the first team, you'll be playing the reserves. Right? Anyway, you see Gus McPherson going like that. Who's this guy? Yeah, cocky little, you know what I mean?
Aye, of course, yeah.
So, a lot of experience in that team as well. Gus McPherson, Ray Montgomery, Mark Riley, Ali Mitchell.
Fantastic team, and obviously you've got to have confidence in your own ability. Do you know what I mean? And you quite clearly did. You've just signed for a club. That fee just now would probably be just shy of £1 million when you take it back.
I don't know about
that. Absolutely. I'm doing you a service here, mate. But so you've signed. You've went away to France. It's fantastic. All these excellent pros. When you started playing it, Kelly, was it rugby park? Obviously, the grass. It was a massive big part. That would have suited your ability, because your ability was up and down left hand side of the park.
It was a great surface rugby park. I've always been renowned for a good surface. I mean, so
who did you make your debut against for Kelly then?
I think it was played a pre-season friendly against Man City at Rugby Park, and then first league game was away to Aberdeen.
Right, okay.
And we drew 0-0, I think.
Aye, and did you play in that one then?
Playing that one, aye.
Aye, no bother. So obviously the game news all changed. I take you didn't stay in a hotel the night before.
Aye.
Oh, did you? So you stayed in? Oh, did you?
I stayed there, and that was obviously our teammates with John Hewitt at St Mirren. We kind of car shared for a couple of years, and he was there, so he stayed in Aberdeen, so I managed to stay the weekend there after the game.
Oh, brilliant. Aye, so you would generally just go up and stay in a hotel before
I
the game?
I stayed in Aye, the Hilton.
Would you train in the Friday morning first then? Do
train
drills?
Train at lunchtime and travel up there in the afternoon.
Aye, brilliant. So was it a different standard for St Mirren, do you think?
It was a slightly different standard. Aye, it's more quality, maybe on the ball, not as rushed.
Yeah.
I mean, to get rid of the ball, more possession. Guys had maybe more confidence to take the ball and receive it and look after it, and it's overall a bit better quality.
So you were playing in the Premier League, but it was the first division, the old school first division, the way it is now. That St Mirren, when you've moved to the Premier League, did you feel at home? Did you think, I really belong here?
Aye, listen. It took a wee while just to settle in a new club and all that, but once you settle in, know your teammates, how they play, it's fine. It's you get your confidence in your own ability. I mean, if you don't, then you're kind of getting the opposition a wee head start. I mean, because I always said, always first 5 minutes, look at your opponent and just say, let's try and get on top of him. First 5 minutes.
Yep. And that was your game. Like, obviously tenacious, I thought, in defence, but in attack as well. So you played away. So when you made your home debut at Rugby Park, that would have been amazing. Was it not just like, yep, I'm actually progressing my career here? It's brilliant.
Aye, well, that's the thing. You've obviously qualified for Europe because they won the Scottish Cup as well. So I obviously played Shelbourne at home, then went away and beat them away from home to go through. And again, Shelbourne in the Irish League gave as good as they got. I mean, it was difficult games.
But they would have been mid-season then.
They were mid-season, and then after that we played. Who did we play? Nice. So we went to France. So that was the thing, right? So obviously Jamie with Christian Carambo over on the beach, and the other guy with the leg brace on, Frank van der Castile.
Yep.
So once the announcement came, like Nice were playing Kilmarnock in the UEFA Cup, Jamie's phoned me up again. He says, killing himself laughing again. He says, remember that guy with the brace on at the beach, remember? Frank van der Castile. He says, he's just signed for Nice. He plays right wing. He says, he's going to have you in a revolving door as well, right? So sure enough, over in Nice, and it was a hostile atmosphere, right? Obviously Nice have got a new stadium now, right? But the old stadium was like, just imagine Somerset Park, but bigger, right on top of
you, yep.
And they're throwing plastic darts at you, come out the tunnel and all that, right? And I stood at the halfway line and I looked at my opponent and there he is, Frank van der Castile, no leg brace on. And I'm thinking, oh God, here we go. I said, first couple of minutes, I'm going to give it, right? So the ball went across and I went out there, I went, bang, yellow card. I thought, that was me. Tenderhooks for the rest of the game. So eventually I get sent off later on in the second half.
Oh, that was never very good.
You beat 3-1.
So did you obviously get beat through in Nice? Did you play them obviously in the first? Like you'd have been suspended then?
I drew one each. So.
And I take it was just a one-match automatic ban then at that point. So, but how did who was the manager at the time then? Bobby
Wilson.
How did he take that? Just learning from that experience, or was he like a Jimmy Bone-esque?
No. I just listen. I was silly. I just stuck my hand down. The ball hit my hand, and there's a second booking. I mean, but. It was 3-1 at the time anyway, I mean, so we didn't lose any more goals.
No. Do you think you learned from that experience, obviously, of doing that early doors, first couple of minutes and getting...
Oh, listen, European game. See, like, we played against Kaiserslautern as well, and I mean, with Jokai played in the team, and these teams are at a different level. Kaiserslautern the following year, they're finished fourth in the Bundesliga. I mean, a guy plays centre in the park, played with Switzerland, 88 caps for Switzerland. Chirasau Sforza.
Right.
I mean, 88 caps for Switzerland. Jorkav playing beside them. German internationals playing. I mean, we're going over there and 40,000 and 3-0 down after half an hour.
And was the pace just different level?
They always seem to have obviously got better ability.
Yep.
They always seem to be kind of quicker, stronger, faster.
And more space and more time in the ball. And
when you get the ball, you don't seem to have that time. And it's just different level,
of course. So, I mean, but for a lot of people that don't know, I mean, Kaiserslautern, as you said, they were a massive team. They're luring Yorkiev. He's won the World Cup and the Euros with France. I think he played about 80 times and you're going up against him. But I think your claim to fame, did you not take the ball off him at one point and put a nice ball through?
The first 8 minutes, I just nicked the ball off him. And
so you played well for 8 minutes, is that what you're telling me? But I mean, to actually see these guys up and close in person must be just it's great. I totally get it, you want to beat them, but to play against them, it's memories for the rest of your life. It's a brilliant experience.
Lots of good memories.
So Kaiserslautern home and away, you were out both times when you played in Europe then. You didn't go much further than Kaiserslautern, I think.
We could beat 2-0 at home, so it was 5-0 in aggregate, and 5-0 over the course of 2 legs. Listen, that's probably a fair reflection.
Of the game. Aye, and it's good. It was good gate money, no doubt, at the time
Aye.
for Kilmarnock, and I think it was on the television for what I remember. So you played your seasons at Kilmarnock. First season you get through, and then you said a really successful run the following season in the League Cup. Was that about 2000?
2 years later, 2000, I got to the final of the League Cup against Celtic.
And who was in when you were playing with Kilmarnock at that time? Was that when was Ian Durrant and Ali McCoist, had they signed at that time? Were they already pros
I
in
was
the
there
team?
for 5 years. After my first year, Durrant signed after my first year, and about maybe just shortly after that, Coisty came on board for about 18 months.
Okay.
So you imagine it's a good dressing room.
Absolutely.
So me and Durrant and Kevin McGowan car shared, and more often than not, Durrant's car will be doing it at the district bar in Govan, so we'd have to pick him up. You know what I mean? So we car shared, and it was a good dressing room. You know what I mean?
I can imagine. So we use all the Glasgow boys, or this kind of side of.
It was the south side of Glasgow. Here, kind of Mearns Gifford area, you know what I mean?
Of course.
And he's up there.
And obviously, like
the castle.
Ali McCoist and Ian Durrant are just massive names in the Scottish footballing game.
Aye.
So to car share with them, it must have been just fantastic.
Yeah, I used to go for lunch. I mean, every Friday up to the restaurant El Costello in the Mearns, and we knew the guys that owned the restaurant. They keep a wee bit at the corner aside and put the curtain across, and the racing on. You know what I mean? Coist would be his bookie. He'd be the bookie and take the bets and have a wee bit of lunch and all that, and playing against Celtic the following day, and a wee man sitting there and having 6 glasses of red wine. You know what I mean? Who
was that, Ian Durrant?
Aye. 6 glasses of red, playing Celtic the following day. Then goes out to Celtic Park and runs the show.
That's amazing.
I mean, incredible.
Such a great
incredible
player.
ability.
And you think about, I know he came back for his bad injury, but imagine what he would have went on to.
For at least 2-3 seasons at Kilmarnock, he was absolutely on the game. Aye. Honestly, and doesn't matter if one thing about the wee man is when he's on his game, right? Mm-hmm. But see if he wasn't on his game, he'd still come looking for the ball for you. Mm-hmm. Still take it. Yep. Even if things are not going, still take it.
And the one guy that was like that when I grew up, for what I remember, was Alan Mahood.
Mm-hmm. Hoodie was at Kilmarnock as well.
Exactly, and that's what I mean. They must have been amazing to play with in training, and I just always remember Alan taking the ball and
he's a wee tidy player, Alan. Aye.
And you think how good players they've always got time. How they just get that. You're like, oh, how have you get the time just to be able to just take the ball? And but as you say, he must have learnt off Ian Durrant at that time as well. And so
absolutely. I mean, I think there's a story. I think once we all finished playing football, I think. We'll come back to that cup final because that was another sore point across as well. After we finished playing football, we went our separate ways, and Coisty went to play with Gifford North Oldcrocks. So it was a team up in Gifford, over 35s. So on a Sunday at 1 o'clock, they go up there and play football, right? And after the game, they come down to the Orchard Park Hotel. And Gifford was my local at the time, right? To watch the games on Sunday at 4 o'clock on Sky. So I was going down Sunday at 4 o'clock for a couple of beers with my pals, and I walk into Orchard Park. I always look to the right to see if I can see anyone. And there's a ball Coisty, and he sees me. He goes, Begsy, nice to see you, son. Come here, the wee man's coming in. And I'm like, the wee man being Durrant? No, he's no. He says, the wee man's coming in. I'm telling you, he's coming for a couple of pints. I went, no, he's no. He's no called Bella Liar for nothing, right? He's not coming. I'm telling you, he's coming in. Next minute, Coisty's phone goes, that's him now. He picks up and goes, wee man, you'll never guess who I'm talking to. The worst left back me and you's ever played with. No, it's no Fraser Wishart. It's that moment I'm jumping up and down, running around Orchard Park Hotel thinking I'm not the worst left back they've ever played with.
You're better than Fraser Wishart.
Fraser's a good player, wasn't
he? He was a smashing player. That's fantastic. I didn't know that story. That's brilliant. So obviously, I mean, that you could go on forever talking about that, but we'll take you back to the successful run for the club to get to the League Cup final. When you played in that team you played in the quarter final, for what I remember.
Played at St Mirren in the quarter final. Yep. Won 3-0.
What was that like playing against your old team and putting them out? Was some of the boys still there at that time?
Some of the boys are still there, but listen, there was about 12,000 at Hampden, and it was just a pure spectacle.
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
I don't agree with being our national stadium. I think it needs revamped.
Listen, I was there last week. Took my boy for the Rangers game, European game, and it's lifeless. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yep. I mean the Jungle Boys behind the goal, the Bears, man, they're making a hell of a racket. But once that stops, it stops graveyard.
And it's not very great, is it? And then so you've bet them in the quarters, St Mirren, and did you already know who you were drawing against?
No, I think.
Was that the semis?
That was the semis.
Right,
Beat them in the semis.
So what did you do after you won that game? Did you head back to
up the road?
Up the road, was it nothing?
Nothing.
So
no, that game on the Saturday. I mean,
so that was ready to go.
So
and then,
I've played about 3 months up to the cup final. So I've played Tuesday night. Played 3 months. On the Tuesday night, played at Tynecastle. Then went to Seamill on the Friday, Saturday for training. Stayed overnight. And that way, the final on the Sunday at Hampden, you're thinking the team's there's no shape in the team or nothing. The team's no structure, no corners, no free kicks against, nothing worked on. Just played me 5-a-side games, just kept ticking over for the final.
Yep.
So you're thinking, gut feeling.
Of course.
I'm playing on Sunday.
Absolutely.
Telling your family.
Yep.
Listen, I think I'm playing. Listen.
Getting all the tickets ready, and everybody's wanting a couple of tickets.
And the pre-match meal on the Sunday at 11 o'clock, sitting there at the table, sitting beside wee Gary Hay, who went on to play with Kilmarnock left back as well. Right?
Great wee player.
Wee Gary's handing his tickets to his brother came in, and Gary's saying to his brother, "Oh, listen, at the most I'll be on the bench. At the most I'll be on the bench." So get to Hampden, and he reads the team out, and I'm not even stripped.
So you know,
not even stripped.
And has she fallen out prior to that time or anything?
No.
So you weren't even in the pool. So you weren't even on the bench?
Nothing.
Right.
Nothing. Me and Paul Wright. Paul Wright scored all the goals.
A fantastic striker.
Great player. And me and him, not even stripped. So I'm like, that here right there. And you see him looking at me, Bobby and all, and Jimmy Clark, and me, Jerry McCabe was looking as well.
Aye.
And I just stormed out. I went, fuck all the best lads. Stormed out, and I kind of met a reporter, come just at the tunnel, just come back up the stairs. And I said to him, I could punch his head off. Somebody even stripped. Next page. Next day, back page of the Sun. I wanted to punch Bobby's head off.
Who was the reporter, do you know?
Robert Grieve.
Right, aye, so you've not forgot him in a hurry?
No.
Aye, so I take it, didn't want a comment off you? You just gave him the comment to heat at the moment, and that's it.
And but to be fair to Robert, I met him the following day. I spoke to Robert a few times, the articles and that, so I met him the following day and gave him my side of the story. So that moment after that, me and Bobby kind of fell out and all that, and I had a meeting with the chief executive in Welsh at the time, and I said to him, "Listen, I can't play for him again." I said, "Can I? How can you possibly play me for the last 3 months to probably the biggest game in terms of my Kilmarnock career, in a cup final at Hampden, when I played on Tuesday night at Hampden at Tynecastle, played the last 3 months, all of a sudden I'm leaving stripped." And I'll never forget. You never forget things, Brian. Bobby turned around and said to me, I said, "Why didn't you tell me in Seamill? That wasn't playing." And Bobby turned around and said to me, "Maybe one day you'll be a manager, you'll understand this." I said, "But I didn't tell you because I didn't want Martin O'Neill finding out you weren't playing." And I turned around and said to him, "Do you honestly think Martin O'Neill's interested if Martin Baker's playing or not?" I said, "I don't think so." Poor excuse. No, so we fell out for about 8 months before I got back in the team again.
It's a real poor excuse, so isn't it? So did you just leave the stadium then, or did you have to
stay?
No,
upstairs. Upstairs
and I take it mobile phones weren't really a big thing then, were they? So your family wouldn't
couldn't contact
so your family.
They turned up at the game and looking down found that I was stripped.
It's no great, is it?
A strange one.
Aye, it's strange. And even to this day, because you know that way you're going through your head, have I said something, have I done something?
Aye.
Still to this day you've no.
Exactly.
How did you play against Hearts anyway? Was it just like a normal game?
I think you beat 2-0, I mean, but it was nothing like.
Aye, because your mind's on this.
But I remember me and Paul get taken off. Gordon Marshall got sent off. So for compensating, another goalie come on. I came off as a defender for the goalie to come on, and at the same time Paul Wright came off for another striker to come on.
So you're maybe thinking I rested for the weekend?
No, just tactical change because the goalie got sent off. And nothing. Just
no. It's strange. Hampden would have been bouncing as well.
Was it a full house. Aye. Listen, that was the time where Reid Durante was running the show again for half an hour. We were 0-0 at that time, and he got taken off by another knee injury, and that was the turning point for him.
What was the final score? 3-0.
That was a Larson hat-trick.
Larson. So when you're playing through your career, I mean that's that we're going through obviously the highs. That's got to be one of the lowest parts of your career.
That was disappointing.
Really disappointing.
There's no indication that you weren't going to be playing. So you're all nervous before the game, thinking about it, what you're going to be doing and all that.
Yep.
I don't know if it's maybe something to do with the fact that 2 years before that, well, both seasons I get sent off with Moravchik. Maybe he was playing that day as well. Maybe it's because I'm.
But even if they give you an explanation, you can kind of
even if you said that,
But
I mean?
to say that Martin O'Neill, well, maybe Martin O'Neill was worrying about you. He's maybe thinking he's still Martin Baker's not playing. So it's a sad one. So you played. It took you, what you said, 8 months to get back into the team. What did you do? Just go and knuckle down, and did you take advice from some folk?
Had to. I mean, it was out in the cold for a while. I mean, and
what was Durante and McCoy's not? What were the boys saying to you just to get yourself back in the team or get your head down?
Big Kev's a good influence on me. Big Kev.
Who's that? Kev who?
McGowan.
Right,
Big Kev's me at St Mirren when I was a young boy. He was there, and then went to Kilmarnock, we car shared as well. And I hang about with Big Kev. Big Kev knew. Listen, he used to say to me, "Listen, you've got the ability to get back in.
Absolutely,
just get back in." So we got back in against Dunfermline, East End Park, and won 2-1. That was it for there.
You played the rest of the season then. So your highlights of your careers, obviously playing with Scotland, getting to play with St Mirren's fantastic, getting a great move to Kilmarnock. What was it like going to Ibrox and Parkhead and Pittodrie? I mean, what was it like as a player? Because
well, that's what I'm saying. Back in the days, it was proper Celtic and Rangers teams.
Yep.
I know they had money to spend, like the Dick Advocat and the Walter Smith eras. And I mean, you're talking about. I mean, you can write them off a team in this now: Kloss, Perini, Amoruso, Moore, Newman, Kanchelskis, Alberts, Van Bronckhorst, McCann, Moles, Flo, Wallace. I mean, Rayner. You can. I mean,
different
top
class
quality compared to what they're playing now. I mean,
yeah,
and it's the same with Celtic. I mean, in Celtic, let's say Stubbs, Valharan,
your pal Sutton, your big pal
Jackie
Sutton,
McNamara, Simon Donny, Big Sutton, Larson, Hartson, Lennon, Lambert. I mean,
and that's what I'm saying. You could read these teams off still to this day. So when you played, I remember when you played against Rangers one night. I'm sure I was watching the telly and you were up against Andre Kanchelskis. Can you tell me that story?
Oh, well, my dad eventually put obviously the videotapes back in the day, you know what I mean? So at Kilmarnock, the game was in Sky, but see when the games were in Sky, the Kilmarnock games, the stadium's still full. Still a full house, 18,000. So I remember my dad put all these tapes on the discs and they gave it to me one day and I put them on, maybe a few years later, right? And I put on this. Kilmarnock Rangers, sit and watch that. So 1-0 down at half time. I'm thinking, they're all right. You know what I mean? So eventually, second half, could beat 5-0. And I thought, I came off the park and I thought, done all right there actually. Done not too bad. So I just let the tape run on. And there was Martin Geisler, I think it was, reporting at the time, interviewing Neil McCann and Andrew Kanchelskis. Eventually, Martin says to Neil, Andrew says tonight's man of the match. Can you hand him the award? He gives Andrew Kanchelskis the man of the match. And I thought to myself, maybe I didn't have a very good game in there.
You've been him thinking, I've done all right. But what a player. I mean, Man United star.
He came at Rangers with 31,
exactly.
But still, he was absolute. Rangers, you couldn't get anywhere near Rangers because they're two wide men. Doesn't matter where the ball was in the park. Neil McCann would be out in that touchline. Kanchelskis would be in that touchline. And you were cover the centre half of the balls on the other side, and the time you got out there, it was just like back and forth. You couldn't get near these.
And did you find that
Barry Ferguson in the middle of the park just controlled everything?
Did you find that like at Rugby Park you had a better chance than when you were at Ibrox Parkhead?
Definitely.
You kind of thought
we were doing really well. I think the second season I was there, I think we went. I remember the days where there was a winter shutdown. Right, so the last game before the shutdown in January, we went to Ibrox. Against that team, right, only 4 points behind Rangers at Ibrox. So that just shows you what kind of run we were on. Just 4 points behind Rangers at Christmas time.
Yep.
So we beat 1-0 that day. So we went to the winter shutdown, 7 points behind Rangers. Then after that, we played it. First game back is United in the Scottish Cup, down at Somerset. And you've got to remember the championship teams were still playing every single week. We're away.
Big derby.
We're away to Marbella, I mean, for a winter training block, and it was pouring the rain over there, and he didn't get the proper training. That's the excuses coming out of it. And came back, and first game, Gordon Dales, United at Somerset Park, and they beat us.
And did you think they were a better team, or do you think it was just the fact you didn't prepare as well?
Just rusty. 2 weeks off, still training, but not training maybe as much because of the weather.
Of course.
Bucketing down, I mean, you couldn't on the beach or on the athletics track. It wasn't proper training. So we came back that. And get beat.
And that's quite frustrating as well, because if you've gone a good Scottish Cup run then
exactly.
and your tails are up and you've trained well, then it builds the confidence to let you finish for the rest of the season.
It does, but then after that shutdown and then we came back, we kind of downhill like France Glamour on a ski slope.
Aye.
We finished about 4th.
Aye, instead of you
Aye.
were challenging that time. So when you go back to Jamie had phoned you about a certain player that was coming to Celtic Park. When you played against, we've mentioned Kinchelsis, when you played against Lubo Maravchik at Celtic, what was that like? What was he actually like to play against?
Listen, he obviously didn't have the pace. You weren't worried about in behind and that, but it's just the ability with the ball at his feet. I mean, it was just the movement. I mean, his touch and his movement to create space, and but it was like just before he signed, or maybe just after it. Didi Agat signed for Celtic, and I remember watching him. I remember the games against like Ajax, against Celtic for Ajax, an absolute whippet, through and goal scoring and all that. And I went to Celtic Park one day and we're playing against. I was probably going to be playing against him, so I kind of remembered. You should kind of check this on Google, right? When he was playing with Hibs at the time, and it was Didi Agat. I type in Didi Agat's goal versus Dundee for Hibs, right, and it brings it up. And I remember he gets the ball about 5 yards inside Dundee's half, right, and he takes the ball in the turn, and he's in their own half, and he beats about 5 or 6 men, right. And do you know what? He never used his left foot once.
Just always right.
Always right foot, right foot, right foot, right foot, right foot, right foot. By Barry Smith, right foot in the net. So I remember that. I said, well, no got left foot. So I remember at Parkhead, Celtic Park, the ball went out to him, and what you do is, when you're playing against a winger, yeah, show him a line or show him inside. You try and find your strength and his weaknesses. So I went, listen, I went stood in the line. I stood in the lane, and I said, you're not going in the line. And I showed him in the park to other bodies on his left foot. And he always wanted to try and check
into the right.
He always wanted to check in, but he never, because I was coming in. And that was my game plan. It worked. You know what I mean? So
that's excellent, isn't it? So, and obviously you've played against probably one of the greatest players, the greatest two players really to grace our game. I think you played with against Brian Laudrup, and obviously against Henrik Larsson. These guys, I take it, were just on a different platform.
It's a career Brian had, you know what I mean? So I was lucky enough that a few times I played against Brian was at Rugby Park, and as you say, Rugby Park's a bit of an advantage for Kilmarnock, so it's probably more easier, you know what I mean? And to be fair, I've done okay that game.
Yep, and Larsson.
I said I've done okay against Kinchelsis as well, man.
Exactly.
You watched that game match.
And obviously playing against Henrik Larsson was just a different level as well.
Okay, I've got. Listen, these guys are different. They always seem to be kind of sharpness always seems to be there or thereabouts. They're always thinking on their feet, split second, buying their away. They just know when the pass is going to be released and know when to go to find the space. But they're playing with quality players, but
of course.
I played with Paul Lambert at St Mirren, who at the end of his St Mirren career couldn't get a game before he went to Motherwell.
It's mad, isn't it?
And then eventually goes and wins the
Champions League.
There's a story. So me, Norrie McWhirter, who was the captain at St Mirren at the time, Paul Lambert. Paul went away at Dortmund, came back, and I think it was in a winter break at Dortmund at the time he came back, and he met me, met me and Norrie for lunch, and the old physio, Jim Denny, who played with Rangers, right? So we went to Brewers Fair in Lochwinnoch. It's one of the Brewers Fairs where he's got a big
Rolex or something like
he's
that.
got a big watch for a £10,000 watch, because he was sticking right out at 11. I mean, that was Karl-Heinz Riedler, centre forward for Dortmund. He gave me that as a birthday present. Aye, 10 grand. Aye, 10 grand. I'm like, that's magic. So I went to Brewers Fair. It's one of the ones where you look at the menu and you go up to the till to order your food. So we're up the till and Jim's getting that, I'm getting that, Norrie and Paul's ordering it, and the woman goes, that'd be £88 please. And Paul goes, £88, what's that, between four? I had to pay for our own lunch. I mean, just one European Cup one. I mean, showing £10,000 watch.
Aye, and you're shelling out 22 quid to pay for your.
I know.
Your
he's doing a division. I mean, 488.
Taught you a lesson, mate. That's a nice lesson. See, aye, but so we're moving on. Just to, obviously, we're coming to the conclusion of your kind of career at Killie. You're playing against all these great players. Over the piece, who's been the kind of three best players, if you can narrow it down, that you've played with? Who would you say that's been the three best, I think? And forward.
I think obviously Alan McCoist and Ian Duran. Alan was still scored goals for Kilmarnock, but obviously probably past his best at the time. Ian Duran, ability-wise, you can imagine that he was going to go on to be a multi-million pound player if it wasn't for his injury. There's a wee French guy called Christophe Cocard, who played up front. Again, he was the end of his career as well, but
where was that at Kilmarnock?
Aye, fantastic ability. You know what I mean? Just balance, light in his feet, just great. And obviously Norrie McWhirter at St Mirren. Norrie was probably a better player than Paul Lambert. Again, injuries curtailed his career as well. But Norrie was a great player. Great player.
And I think he was a great teammate. Boys, the kind of boys I was speaking to were saying he was a good teammate as well.
He was.
Just a lovely guy. So it's obviously very difficult to narrow it down to 3. And I know I've gave you 3 just as but it's to get your brain working. So other piece as well, teammates. Who's been your 3 best teammates, do you think?
Oh, Big Kev McGowan. I like Big Kev. I was keeping contact with Big Kev.
What's Kev doing now? Is he still involved in football? He's a tailor.
Aye. Jim had a few part-time jobs with like Jim Weir at St Johnstone, the Elgin manager, and somebody else. I think it was a Forfar. But he's back doing tailing now. I'm trying to think players. Well, it's hard to listen. I was lucky enough that most of the guys took to me. You know what I mean? So I got on pretty well with most of them. You know what I mean? Me, Mark Riley as well. You know what I mean? Mavis, a good laugh at Mavis. Mavis in the police now as well. There's plenty. It's too hard.
It's too hard. I know that's great. But so obviously, before we come on to the show and you're kind of looking back at your career, does it not bring a lot of fond memories that you've actually had for my own opinion? I think you've had a great career.
Well, I'm kind of hard on myself.
Of course.
I mean, if I look back, I do things differently. Absolutely. Would I car share? No, I wouldn't. Because there's times where you're car sharing and Durante's maybe come to the end of his career. He's had his career at Rangers. And he's picked us up, but he needs to get back for the kids, for school.
Yep.
Yeah, and you need to leave. Whereas if you wanted to stay behind, go to the gym, that's one thing I would do, is I wouldn't car share again. Because there's no excuse for you not staying behind, because you've got your own car.
Yeah.
And I keep saying, plenty of people say to me, you should have done this, you could have done that. And I'm thinking to myself, why are they saying that? Why are they saying that? I had a nice career.
Yep.
A nice career, but it could be a lot better. But it also could have been a lot worse. I could have been like the players sometimes who go to a club for the first couple of years and after that, that's them, disappear. But I didn't. I managed to renew my contract every single time until Jim Jeffries came to Kilmarnock.
And then when Jim Jeffries had came to Kilmarnock, he had his own ideas, I take it, as well at that time.
Well, he wanted to bring in his old Hearts team. I mean, I was one of the highest paid players at Kilmarnock at the time, and I was struggling with an injury. I had an operation in my groin, which was wrongly diagnosed. I actually fractured my pelvis, which went undiagnosed. So the pelvic injury was healing itself. So it took a long time for that to heal. I was still under contract at Kilmarnock. Will come at the end of my contract, and the old famous was, "We'll look after you." I mean, that was the old quote for Jim. "We'll look after you." And then all of a sudden, 3 months later, listen, because of the wages you're on, and no guarantee that you're going to be fit and all that. I said, "Well, half my wages in for a year, for 6 months even. I'll get back in this team. I'll guarantee you." He just wanted people off the wage bill, so he can get his own players like Stevie Fulton in, Gary Locke, Jim Hamilton.
And they'd all been in good money as well at that time.
Exactly, so they've all his ex-Hearts players come in, I mean.
Aye. So obviously, from my point of view, I think personally you've had a great career. But for our younger listeners out there, there's no way that you shouldn't be doing a bit extra.
Absolutely not. I know. It's a full-time job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, the days of training at 10 and come home at 1:30. Long gone.
And again, you need a wee bit of luck sometimes along the way as well.
You need a bit of luck. But if you work hard for yourself and work hard, try your best. Anything you do, try your best. You'll not be far away.
Aye, good. Well, listen, thank you very much for coming on the show.
An hour?
That's
Am I getting cut short here?
That's you. You're getting cut short, mate. I could listen to you all day talk about the cheap suits that you're wearing, but we can't. No, but listen, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate everything that you've told us today. And if you've enjoyed the journey today, guys, then please listen in for more episodes of Sexton Soccer, and check me out in Sexton Soccer on the road. Please subscribe, check me out TikTok and all the other social media platforms, and stay tuned. My next guest is going to be an ex-St Mirren and Dumbarton legend, so please stay tuned. In Scottish football, keep smiling.